If I ask you, ma'am, if I ask you, how would you describe yourself?
Myself?
Yes. How would you describe yourself? As a person, what makes you tick? What makes you feel bad? How do you think about what kind of person you are?
Well, I'm basically an introvert, I think, and tend to be a very serious person.
Serious about?
Everything.
Deep thinker.
Serious about everything. Perfectionist. I'm trying very hard not to be a perfectionist. I think I'm better now.
You're less perfect now.
Yeah, I'm less perfect. I tend to be all or none. Like, if you're my friend, I'll do anything and everything for you. But if you're not my friend, I'll ignore you totally. So I can't pretend to be a friend. Then what else? I think my feelings show on my face, so I can't pretend to be happy, or I can't pretend to be what I'm not.
So labeled up there in neon.
Then I enjoy creativity. I like painting and needlework and cooking and
If I were to ask you, what makes you tick? What would you give yourself to fully? For example, if someone said, here is something, I'm giving you an offer, you can, there's no limit to the amount of money you can have for this, success is guaranteed, what would you give yourself completely to? It's a trick question. Just to get
I would give myself completely to planning a retreat, a contemplative retreat. Like, if you told me that there's this organization who has 15 or 20 employees who want to spend time with God and have a meaningful session of just examining themselves and God and their relationship with God, and I think I'd spend a lot of time and money to do that retreat.
Okay. Something you're passionate about, people
like people's relationship with God.
Okay.
Anything that would help people's relationship with God. I know it sounds really spiritual, but that's not what I meant. Like, just finding God in day to day and finding discernment issues even in your walking and cooking and the way God has made you. I think anything to help people to get closer to God or to know God better in their everyday, I would spend a lot of time. Like, when people come here for retreats, there was a couple who came recently for a 10-day retreat. I think I spent 3 months just planning for them, thinking how to make it better for them and how to be more open to them myself. And I enjoyed it. And I think I enjoyed the pre-planning, like those 3 months, much more than the 10 days. I mean, of course, I really gave myself to them in those 10 days, but I found myself happy and peaceful and just looking forward to that planning.
That's where your heart is.
Yeah.
So is
It gives me energy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it gives me energy, like inner energy.
Okay.
It's not stressful.
That's like me being a psychiatrist. Even if I'm stressed, I like that stress. That's nice. So, finding an inner person, how connecting it to helping to connect someone to God, finding their true selves, things like that.
Yeah. I think something really profound happened to me during my retreats with Hans Burki. Have you heard of Hans Burki?
No. Where is he from?
He's from Switzerland. He used to come for the UESI here to India.
Okay.
And he used to have things called life revision seminars.
Yeah.
I really wanted to go to one of his life revision seminars.
It's like 1 week or something, huh?
1 month.
1 month, okay.
1 month. But I couldn't go to any of those because by the time I decided and I could afford it, he died. So I couldn't go. So I had gone to the short ones, the 10-day ones and the 8-day ones in Bangalore and Kunur. So he, I think what he did was, he used God's word to speak to me and get out of the way. Like it was just God's word and me. Though he was facilitating the retreat, he was like in the background. But I was actually interacting with God at a very deep level during those 10 days. And I really liked that. So I wanted to have something like that when I retire for other people. Like to help them to connect with God through God's word and, be in the background. Like a spiritual companion, somewhat.
Okay.
So because I was affected so much by these retreats, I wanted similar retreats for other people so that other people can connect with God through His word themselves.
Can you give, if you remember, can you give an example of something that really affected you and gave you some direction at that time? If you remember, offhand. If you don't, no problem.
I remember some dream work that I did with him.
Okay.
At that time, I think I was struggling about disciplining children. And I was really having a hard time with Kripa because we were just always fighting constantly. I think she was just getting into teenage, I think, 11, 12. And I used to end up just thinking, oh, I'm such a bad mother. And I used to really feel bad about it, disciplining her and spanking her and having all these consequences for her. So I had a dream, and in the dream I had an African girl who was, I don't know whether she was a nursery teacher or what she was, but she was like a caretaker. And I sent my children to that creche, or I don't know what it was, like a children's group, to be looked after. And that African girl really looked after her so well. And I was very pleased with her, and that was my dream. And then when in the dream workshop, we had a dream workshop with Hans Burki, and different people came with whatever they had dreamt during that week. So when I told Hans Burki, and he helped me to interpret the dream, like it was like my subconscious telling my conscious that it's okay, you're looking after your child fine. That African girl was me, because I was born and brought up in Uganda, and I always considered myself an African. So what my dream was telling me was, it's fine what you're doing with your child, the way you're disciplining her, it's fine, and don't worry so much about it. And that kind of it clicked, because it just I don't know, there was just deep peace in my heart, and I knew that that interpretation was true for me, for my dream. And then there were other things which happened during that retreat. The specificity I cannot remember now, but it had to do with my relationship with Laji and my work and my children. So these three areas of my life were, I think they took a 180 degrees turn for me. The way I was going and the way it changed for me after the retreats. So because it was such a profound change in my whole outlook to life, it just left a deep impression.
So, I mean, maybe it's something like many times we are just continuing with something, and our inner conflicts are increasing, and we don't really address them, and then you need someone to tell you the truth about the whole thing, isn't it?
It's that, but also because I think the very fact that you stop and take a break, those 10 days, we went away from here, we got out of the picture, and there was a lot of silence in those 8 or 10 days. And I think even in the silence, God spoke to me so many things. So it was not somebody else telling me. It was me telling myself, or God in me speaking to me. So I think the reality of just stopping doing what you're doing, getting away from the situation, and being silent or near silence for 8 to 10 days. I think that was the secret. I think even if nobody else talked to you, it would
Maybe
still
the
change
answers
you.
were all inside, just didn't take the time to find out.
Yeah. So I think to just, is to encourage solitude into people who are looking for answers. Because God lives in you, right? So if God lives in you, then you need to just listen to that God in you. I think we don't take time to listen. Especially now with all the gadgets and computers and mobiles. I mean, in those days we didn't have phones.
No, even when I look back at my time, no, I didn't have a cell phone. The whole of my MBBS. Even now I realize we're so connected.
Yeah.